We're going to start from where we left off yesterday. Yudalid, Perk Yudalid, Pasuk Yud Aleph. We find the Jews are caught between the Egyptian army and the sea. Yomer el Moshe, Hamibli Inkfor b'Mitzrayim. Are there a lack of grace in Egypt? Lekachtor lomos b'midbar. Did you take us to die in the desert? Mazos o sisalonu. What did you do to us? Lotzion Mitzrayim. That you took us out of Egypt. So I mentioned yesterday, right now the claim is you took us out of Egypt. So we discussed this yesterday. They believed that because of themselves being idolaters, they weren't worthy to leave Egypt. And the only reason why they left Egypt, because Moshe decreed that they should leave. And based on the principle of tzadikos HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mekayim, that when the tzaddik decrees something, Hashem backs the tzaddik, but that's based on his merit. But what would be if his merit all of a sudden is depleted? Then you left hanging there. You have nothing to carry through. So as long as they saw they were the victors and they were in a safe place and their enemy was being destroyed, they have no problem. The leaving with wealth and with glory, not a problem. But now all of a sudden they're caught between the sea and the Egyptian army. Moshe, where's your merit? It's not us. Hashem, we weren't worthy to go out. Where was your merit? Why did you take us out of Egypt? There's no lack of graves in Egypt. That's where we left off yesterday. But listen to this. This is what we told you in Egypt, saying, let us be. V'navdis Mitzrayim. Now, Hashem says to Moshe, go tell the Jews that they're going to be redeemed. And he mentions the four expressions of Gula, of redemption. And what does it say over there? Lo shomam l'Moshe mikotzu ruach me'avoda kosher. They did not listen to Moshe as much as they were convinced that he is the Redeemer and he has the ability to take them out. They did not listen because they were short-winded and because of the overwhelming level of hard work, meaning they had to meet quotas. That's when they're saying this, didn't we tell you in Egypt, let us be and let us work the Egyptians? Now, this is very interesting. Because it's better we should work for the Egyptians as slaves than die in the desert. It's better. When did they say that? When did they say that? The Torah says the reason why the words of Moshe fell on deaf ears was because the kotzer ruach v'oda kosher, right? Because they were short-winded and they were overwhelmed with the workload that they had to meet quotas. And here it says, what are they saying? Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us be? Because it's better we should work for the Egyptians than die in the desert. When did they ever say that? Unless the Torah is sharing with us something now that they never said, that we're not aware of. They said this before. But seemingly, there is an allusion to this before. Very often a person, it's interesting, when people have a claim against the person, one person has a claim against the person, there are many people who jump on the bandwagon. But when they come and with their claim, although they say the same thing as that one person, but there's an expression, everybody has their axe to grind. Everybody has their reason why they're coming. One person has a claim for whatever the reason he has a claim. But if that person's claim seems to be a legitimate claim, everybody is also making claims and criticizing and whatever they're doing to that person. But it's not for the same reason. Although they're saying the same thing, but each person is coming from his own vantage point. Now, and sometimes a person doesn't even realize it's almost like on a subconscious level. Only later do we realize why we said certain things. And now we understand why. It says, Lo shomu l'Moshe mikotzu ruach v'oda kosher. Moshe Rabbeinu proves through performing miracles that he's the Redeemer. And then there's a work stoppage. It says they believe. What does Paro do? He pulls the straw subsidy. That's what he does. It becomes overwhelmingly impossible to meet the quotas. Moshe says, but God's taking you out. These are the four expressions of redemption. It fell on deaf ears. Why? Kotzer Rachbo de Kosher. That's the way they processed it. But you know what the truth is? The reason why it fell on deaf ears is because then, subconsciously, what is the alternative? We're going into the desert. When we go into the desert, could you survive a desert? Now, after that incident, what happened? There was work. After that, they weren't bound by quotas. Once they met that critical point, the bondage stopped in terms of workload. So now for the next 10 months, they're free. Now that they're free and they don't have that overwhelming work, so we speak about 20% had faith. Had faith. We see we're no longer physically enslaved to them, enslaved. So therefore, they had sufficient trust in Hashem because it played out like Moshe said. But now that we see that they're caught between the sea and the Egyptian army, now all of a sudden, in retrospect, they said, the reason why then we said we didn't listen was because we didn't want to die in the desert. Sometimes a person says things, you don't even realize why you say it. Then it was because Kotzer Rachbo Kosher. See, then things cleared up. We have a clear mind. We have sufficient trust in Hashem, we're going, 20%. The others weren't going. But now that the 20% themselves are confronted with this issue and they realize they're going to die, they said, we told you back in Egypt, let us be. Let us, because it's better to work than die in the desert. Although that's not what it says there. It says the reason why they didn't listen was because they were short-winded and overwhelmed with difficult work, with overwhelming quotas. I think that's how to understand this. That's when they said it. Although verbally, word-wise, they didn't say that, but that was the basis for saying that. So what does Moshe do? V'yomer Moshe Elom, al tiro, don't be fearful. Hisyatzvu uruas Yeshuas Hashem asher yaseh lechem hayom. Be firm, and you will see God's salvation that He will do for you today. Ki es asher re'isem es Mitzrayim hayom lo sosivu l'rosam od ad olam. You see the Egyptians today pursuing you. After today, we'll never see them ever again. You will never see the Egyptians again. Meaning, we'll see they're going to be destroyed. You will never see them again. Hashem yilochem lochem. God will fight on your behalf. You remain silent. You have to do nothing. We'll see. You just have to travel into the sea, as we'll see in a moment. So Rashi says, Hashem yilochem lochem bishvilchem. So he's saying to the Jews, you can remain silent. Hashem will fight your battle. Hashem says, Moshe, why are you crying out to me? So what does that mean? He told the Jews, you have to do nothing. But evidently, if Hashem's saying to Moshe, why are you supplicating me? There's no need. So just tell the Jews to travel. Travel straight into the sea. So Rashi says, although he told the Jews they don't remain silent, he was praying on their behalf. Hashem says to Moshe, now's not the time to supplicate me lengthily. The Jews at this moment are in a state of tzorah, of problem. Therefore, remain silent, just tell them to travel. So we discussed yesterday the Orach HaKodesh, which he asks, when else do you pray? You pray when there's a tzorah, when there's a problem. And he's saying over here that, what are you praying? My children, Bnei Yisrael b'tzorah. Now's not the time to pray. So we explained, the Orach HaKodesh explains, the concept of tefillah is rachmim. The Jews, of course, they spoke out of turn by saying, when there were lack of graves in Egypt, that you took us to die here, that statement brought a level of prosecution. that the attribute of mercy was drawn at this moment. So they had to demonstrate a level of faith and trust, and only then will it be restored. That's what he's saying. Tefillah is not going to help. The way God created the world, tefillah is based upon midas harachmim. Once the attribute of mercy is withdrawn, you can pray out to your heart's desire and pray your heart out. It's not going to help. Why? Because you have to be worthy of rachmim. Only by showing their trust, by doing something which you only could do, if you have this unwavering trust, then it will be restored. And how would they prove that? Tell them to travel straight into the sea. That's the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. There's a famous story. The Nodi Yehuda, when he was a young boy, 5 years old, he was in shul, and there was a whole discussion among the Talmidei Chachamim in this community. He was 5. And what was the story? There were 2 brothers. They hated one another. They had a business dispute, and the hate was at a level where one said to the other, I swear I will never ever look at your face again. That's to the degree that I despise you. And he took a shua, took an oath. And then afterwards, his brother suddenly dies, and he regrets that he took that oath. And it's like at a funeral, people ask mechila from the person who passed away before the burial takes place. One asks forgiveness because the neshama hovers over the body. So he asked the question, he took an oath, he's never going to look at his brother again. And he wanted to go to the location where they were preparing his brother for burial, to speak to his brother, look at his brother in the face and say, to ask for forgiveness. That was the Shayla La'alocha. He said, so the question was, maybe that's only if he's alive. But now that he's no longer alive, it's not looking at his brother. Because when he took the oath, his brother was alive. Or maybe no, looking at his brother means see his face. Seeing his face means seeing him. So the little boy, Rabbi Cheskel Landau, when he was 5 years old, listening, he says, I have proof from Parshas Beshalach. Moshe Rabbeinu says that you see the Egyptians today, and after today you will never see them again. And yet we find that after the sea closed on the Egyptians, they were concerned the Egyptians were coming up on the other side. So Hashem caused the sea to spit them out on the shore. And when they saw the remains of the Egyptians, they saw them, they said, Ozi Oshir. They sang the praises of Hashem. So this 5-year-old child says, he see clearly, although Moshe says you will never ever see them again, but yet now they see them on the seashore. So you see from here that seeing a person's only when he's alive. Moshe said, when you will never see them again. That's meaning as the remains is not considered seeing them. Seeing them is the person. The remains is not called the person. And based on what he said as a 5-year-old child, the Nodi Yehuda, they resolved this question that the brother was permitted to go to that location where he's been prepared for burial to ask mechila of his brother. Okay, from this pasuk here.